Hey everyone. Today I brought back my friends Alan and Robin for a new podcast episode. For more VRL content, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel and enjoy the podcast. All right. Hello and welcome again to the VRLFanTV podcast. And today I have with me the same guests in Alan and Robin. Welcome.
Thank you for having us back.
Yeah, happy to be here. Maybe we'll keep it a little shorter this time, but who knows?
Yeah. So it has been very quiet summer, huh, for VRL. Wouldn't you two agree?
Nothing going on at all. No. Yeah, it's kind of, well, I don't know where to start, but it's like
Wait.
the whole thing with Jorgensen is kind of astonishing how quickly that's blown up and become a thing. And then most of the other moves were people we felt were going to be released anyway. So that's
Okay. We can start with let's start with our signings. Maybe we can start with the goalkeeper Conde. What are you guys' thoughts on him as a potentially first choice or backup goalkeeper?
Yeah, it's a weird one with him. I think I really like that we haven't gone like major signing, like a major keeper or anything like that. He seems fairly consistent. He looks quite good in sort of YouTube videos and everything like that. So he's not well known, but that's kind of the VRL that we like. You know, we like finding hidden gems. I mean, you think about all the keepers that we've signed over the years, none of them have ever been particularly like well known or particularly famous. So, I mean, we're losing Jorgensen, but if I think about Jorgensen, it's like he was signed on a free, wasn't he? We're selling for 20 odd million or something. So that's definitely an amazing part of business. So I think Conde looks pretty good, pretty solid. So I'll let's see him give it a chance. I don't know. How do you feel, Julian?
No, I think it's for me a bit too early. I saw the last match and against Etienne, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was two very difficult goals to save. It was stunning goals, so it's very early for me to say anything. Actually, but I hope and I think we will get another goalkeeper as a first choice. What do you think, Alan? Is he okay backup goalkeeper potentially?
yeah. I mean, I think he's fine as a backup. I think the question is really. I mean, when we signed him, we couldn't have been expecting Jorgensen to leave. But even so, I mean, I think if we go out and sign another, we have to sign another keeper because we'll only have Conde otherwise. But I think probably again we go for somebody that's more has La Liga experience and is under 10 million, something like that. Because we're just not that interested in selling out huge quantities of money for a goalkeeper. And I think Conde is perfectly okay. I mean, it sort of depends on how he develops with us, but we've had good luck with keepers like that. I think it's more interesting. I don't see how you can argue with selling Jorgensen for that amount of money. I think it's going to be. I can see this going one of two ways for him, with not much in between. I think either he'll do really well, or else it's just going to be, he gets sucked into the Chelsea nonsense and is never seen or heard from again.
Yeah.
It's an interesting move, wasn't it? Really. I mean, he's not like I've got to be honest. I've never sat fully comfortable with him. He's definitely got better throughout all last season, but at the start it was very, very shaky. I think he's probably the same level as Rulli. I never rated Rulli at all. So I don't think there was a very difficult level or difference between the bar, but I think it was very good foresight to play him, because I mean, I remember when he first appeared on the scene, everyone was like, "Are you going to sign a new keeper? Are you going to sign a new keeper?" And actually, he just phased into it. I think Roy just said, "We'll just stick with Jorgensen," and he was brilliant. So yeah, I mean, it depends on who we sign. There was talk of De Gea, wasn't there? Was talk about getting Rooney back. You know, we'll see what happens really, but at least we have a goalkeeper, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better.
Jorgensen, to me, he's very young. Obviously, you're paying for future growth, I think, and the question is whether or not he'll get the chance to do that at Chelsea. I think that fan base and the situation at the club is not one where he's going to get he's going to get thrown in at the deep end, or else he's going to be sitting on the bench a lot. And I don't, I think he's an okay keeper. I think he needs to learn to command his box better, and I think he gives up far too many rebounds.
Yeah. I think that's what we all have seen, is that I was very critical. I had the same opinion on him as you guys in the beginning. He made so many mistakes, and I was like, oh, I really hope they don't bet on him. But the club kept putting a lot of faith in him, and to be honest, he grew. Like he grew with each match, but he still made the same kind of errors with the rebounds and with the corner, especially in corners. I never felt confident with him in corner situations. So but he's still very young and has a lot of potential. So it would be interesting to see if Chelsea gives him patience. That's what he needs especially in this age where he's going to commit more mistakes. So they just have to put a lot of faith in him and trust in him. So it would be interesting to see if they can afford that, or if he maybe ends up benching, and then with many Chelsea players previously who have been in the same situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the other thing we have to keep in mind with him too, in his defense, is that if you look at, we did not do a good job last season in I think he faced more shots than anybody else. His save percentage was quite good. It's just that when you look at he allowed almost 2 goals per match because we allowed so many shots. And so I think that hopefully this year we will have addressed that issue to some degree. We actually have, for the first time in quite a while, seemed to prioritize signing a center back. So that's kind of good.
That's good,
yeah.
We can talk about Willie Kambuala, I think his name is. He, I think the first option was probably Mosquera, but because of Wolves, and they probably didn't want to give up him. The next best thing, I think, was this player, Willie Kambala, he hasn't played a lot. He's very young, but just watching some few highlights of him, he seems to have the same playing style and same profile as Mosquera. Maybe less accurate on his passing. What do you guys think about him? Have you seen some matches of him or highlights of him?
Yeah, it's a weird one. I love the fact we're prioritising centre backs. I wasn't quite sure about the price tag, because 10 million seems quite a lot for a centre back that's not quite developed yet. I imagine we paid for his age, really, but it's good. I like Mosquera. I liked Mosquera, and I think everyone did. He was at times a bit inconsistent and he sort of caved in sometimes, and I think that was just probably down to youth. Also, I think the new signing, he seems a bit more fuller. He's a bit more broader. He's a bit taller. So I think that's probably going to address the heading issue, because that's where we were losing a lot of goals last season, wasn't it? It was on set plays and crosses from the box and stuff. So I think he looks pretty good on covering that, which is what we really, really need. It'd be interesting to know what our kind of partnership will be like, what the centre back partnership will be like next year, because Albiol is still consistent, but that's another year of loss of speed. So, Alan, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think I haven't seen Willie play, but I think that's yes. It's in some respects we're doing what Chelsea is doing with Jorgensen. I mean, we are paying a premium for youth and the possibility of developing him. I think the disappointment is that there's a buyback clause in there that if we develop him really well, Man United will just buy him back.
Yeah.
But I think that. I mean, I like the deal in the sense that when you go back to Marcelino being with us the first time, he got Eric Bailly as a raw youngster and developed him really well, really quickly. And I think Marcelino will work with him, and I think it's a good signing. I still think we need somebody else. I still think we might be hoping for Mosquera. I read an article recently which suggested that we are still kind of hoping that we can get him back, but it'll be something that if it happens, it'll be toward the end of the window kind of deal. And then there was also this player for Red Bull, one of the Red Bulls that we're interested.
Salzburg.
Salzburg, and so I think we need to have one of those, because that would give us 5 center backs, counting Albiol, assuming Mandi leaves, which I think we do. And Cuenca, I don't think we're convinced by. So I think it's a good. I think we need one more center back there, but I like the fact that we're going for players with some physical profile.
Yeah, physical and pace. Yeah, that's what I see a lot of in Marcelino's player, or what he prefers. He usually prefers like African or French players with pace. So it will be interesting to see how Willie Kamwala develops, and if it's one thing Marcelino is very good at, is to get best out of young players. And I think I won't be so worried about him as much because of the qualities of Marcelino. What about the left back? We haven't mentioned the new left back, Cardona.
He scored, didn't he, as well in the pre-season?
Yeah, he scored. Yeah, exactly.
It's a good sign, isn't it?
Do you think he will maybe? We haven't seen too much of Pedrosa last season. Do you think maybe he will take his spot?
No, absolutely not. He'll never replace Pedrosa. No, it's interesting. I think probably the reason that we signed him as well is that I think he probably would have been happy with Cuenca at left back, because Cuenca played really well at left back last season. But I think, like you said, Pedraza, we didn't see him much last season. He was really badly injured, which is quite rare for him, because previously he never really had been particularly injured, I think. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I don't think Pedraza's really played that much under Marcelino for Marcelino to really see him and utilise the benefits. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think they both have an easing shout for it. We haven't got Europe this year, so it's not a case of being able to play those, the left backs in alternative positions. So it's going to be a bit of a fight at left back, I think. What do you reckon, Julian?
I think it's a good It's a healthy balance, a healthy competition, and I like Pedrosa as well, as much as you do, Robin. But I felt always that Alberto Moreno, he didn't offer enough competition. And I think with this signing, especially, I've seen videos of him, he's very good offensively, but defensively he struggles. I think Pedrosa is more comfortable defensively than him. Cardona is very offensive player, very technical, and he is more like a left wing back who plays narrow, who can play narrow. He comes inside, but he can also cross. So it will be. I like the healthy balance of them, of him and Pedraza. What about you, Alan? Do you have any thoughts about him?
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting in a way that, I mean, he is sort of in the fact that he's more offensive minded is a lot like Alberto Moreno was, where where we saw him being used a lot was where we would be behind or needed, or we're going for a goal, and we would bring Moreno in, and he was pretty successful at that. I think it's a good. I mean, with Pedraza, I have always loved Pedraza, so no surprise.
Yeah.
I think he's great, but he is getting banged up. And having another option there is good. I think that's fine. I think it was a good signing. He'd impressed before, and he wasn't that expensive. So,
No, his contract ends, or did end this summer, or I think we didn't pay anything for him except his salary.
Okay.
So,
I thought we paid something, but okay. Well,
I think
regardless,
so. I'm not sure.
yeah, regardless, it wasn't a big. I think it's a good. If you look at how we've tended to fill out our roster, we've had some good luck at times getting these players who can kind of fill in the niche that without being very expensive, and I think so. I think this is one of those. And if he but I think he's got a really good upside, and I think it was a good signing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You made a really good point, Julian, about the crossing thing, because that's definitely one thing. I never like to criticize my Pedraza, but he he cannot really cross high. He crosses low.
Crosses,
yeah.
Crosses.
We have Soloff there needs those crosses higher up, doesn't he? So
exactly. Yeah, and he likes to he has to. Yeah, every time I feel like he has to run all the way towards the line before he crosses or before he passes the ball. With this guy, he will cross maybe further back and much earlier for Sørloth. But we'll come back. We'll come back to him later. One player that has, I feel, has some mixed feedback, or people want him out, some people want him. Danjuma, what are your thoughts about him? Do you think Marcelino will keep him, or is he gonna leave this summer?
Go on, Alan, you go.
Well, I think Danjuma. It's like I could see it going one of two ways. On the one hand, Danjuma could say to himself, "This is my last real chance to show something," and play really well. Marcelino just isn't going to take a lot of crap from people. So I think the question is really if he's doing what Marcelino wants and doing all the program and the restrictive diets and everything else that we've heard about. I think he'll. I don't know that we have an easy option to get rid of him, frankly, Danjuma. I mean, at this point, we'd probably take, I don't know, 7 or 8 million just because we've amortized enough of his contract. But I just don't see that. I don't see that we really need to make that move. And if you look at our roster, where we are kind of low on depth is up front now. And that will especially be true if we lose Sørloth or Baena or anybody like that there are always rumors about. So I think it would be kind of silly, or not silly, but I think it might be somewhat foolhardy to really try to move him when we need attacking players.
Yeah. For me, it's his attitude that was so bad for the last few years. It's like this kind of high and mighty, and for me, it's just who I am, that I can't stand that that's the worst kind of player. I think is someone that just thinks they're better than the club and they deserve more. Like, he did an okay job for us for over the years, but his attitude was just appalling. You could always see he was just kind of going for a move. He's kind of like Emery in player form, to be honest.
I agree completely.
Yeah, he just there's something wrong there, and the reason it feels like a sort of spoiled kid that's gone off to try to get his glory. He's been found out, and he's coming back with his, what's the expression? Just like headshot. I was like, oh right, okay, I didn't mean it. It's for me. I mean, we don't know what happened behind the scenes, and yes, he's a good player, and if he proves himself, he'll do really well for us. But at the same time, he's pushing for a move. He thinks he's bigger than the club, and I think, yeah, he's on his last year of the contract with us, isn't it? So to be fair, I guess keeping him makes more sense because we probably can't sell him. I'm sure we've been trying to sell him and we're not going to get half of what we paid for him back. So if he does a good job, great. Like you said, we're a bit slow. We're low on the attacking front. He can play as left winger as well as striker. But I think, like you said, Alan, he's not going to get on well with Marcelino if Marcelino's going at his food habits and his diets and his speed and everything. We'll either embrace it or we'll have a tantrum and be training with the young reserves, I guess.
Yeah.
But I completely agree with you, Robin. Just by watching him play and the way he acts, he comes across as a disingenuous, like in the way he on Twitter he will post a lot of positive messages, but he has all this ego built inside. So I feel like he came to Villarreal in hopes of going to another bigger club, and when things fell out, he what happened, he went from a loan to another loan, and I think this is his redemption now this season. And just by watching videos of him, he looks very motivated, and even Marcelino mentioned a week ago that he's impressed by the attitude of Danjuma. And I think from how it looks now, it seems as Marcelino is in, or Danjuma is in Marcelino's plan, because I don't think they will want to buy another second striker to replace him. I think they would rather want to keep him, as you said, Alan. They would rather want to keep Danjuma and motivate him. And I think Marcelino is the type of coach who is strict enough to tell him, and I think it will be a good match for both of them.
Yeah, his contract expires in 2026. So this really is, if this is his last chance to really perform well and then have us sell him on in a big move next summer. Yeah. If he doesn't, then there's just not a whole lot left there in terms of value on his contract, and so at that point we'd probably sell him for a few million to somebody that would take him.
Yeah.
But hopefully it won't come to that. But it's just astonishing. His when he joined us, he was so good that first year, and then ever since then it hasn't. You look at the graph of his market value, and it looks like Mount Everest. Anyway.
Yeah, changed a lot in few years. Or maybe 1 year. I think it was even like ever since Emery left, it went down. But I think he has been impressive so far. I don't know if you guys have been watching the preseason, but he has been working hard. He runs a lot now. He works hard for the team, and he even created, I think he gave the assist to one of the goals. I think last match he gave one of the assists. So
I guess the difference is between him and, say, Ben. He speaks Spanish as well. If you hear the interviews, he actually has learned the language. Which
you saw the video.
I think I'm willing to give him one last chance, I suppose. I mean, I feel like that's kind of where we are. I keep thinking of the to go back to your comment, Julian, about the kind of players Marcelino likes. It's like, we're going to have 8 guys on the pitch who are running around and are really fast, and then we're going to have Albiol and we're going to have Parejo just standing.
Standing straight. And Santi Comisania sometimes.
Yeah.
That's how Parejo gets away with it, though, because everyone else is fast around him, so it makes him look slightly faster when he basically moves in slow motion. Like, I've never seen anyone just not move. It's ridiculous. It's like
It's
Matthew
ridiculous.
Taser, Alan, you might remember him for Southampton years ago, just did not move. It's like,
Yeah.
like, I don't know how you achieve that. I wish I could achieve that on a football pitch. I run around like Kante. It's ridiculous. But
Well, the thing is, if he's very good at not moving, but being in the right position by not moving.
Yes.
You know, that's part of
positive not moving. It's weird.
it's like, you know, but it's like you see, oh, he's hardly moving at all, but yet he managed to be in the right place to get the one pass to make the next pass or something. I mean, it's kind of like watching Andrea Pirlo toward the end of his career, where he just stood there, but found and he was always able to do something creative with it. But you know,
yeah, him or Busquets even. Busquets was excellent at this. He didn't move a lot, but he was always in the right position to receive the ball. And Parejo is like that, but maybe more offensive, and he takes more risks. And sometimes he sleeps in. It annoys me still that he sleeps sometimes in position when he can just pass.
It's kind of it is bizarre. One thing that I think is where I see him that he's fallen off. I don't think his free kicks or his dead skills are what they were.
They're horrible, aren't they? They really are. Like it's quite. You watch him and you think it's embarrassing, and you think, how is he still taking them? But then Baena did quite well, sort of taking over from him, didn't he? So
yeah. So
one player we haven't mentioned is the new midfielder from Marseille. Papa Gay. Have you seen him play so far?
Yeah, well, with him it was weird because I thought we signed a defensive midfielder, but then he's our top scorer in pre-season. So it's quite interesting because I was expecting a sort of Kante Makaleli sort of role, and he seems to be more attacking than most of our midfield. So I think he's going to get a bit more of a kind of Zambo and like Capoue when he can be bothered to move, rather than a kind of defensive midfielder. But I suppose that it's going to be interesting, like how we line up. I mean, could we see sort of Parejo being dropped for like Comisania and Guay in that midfield? Because if that's the case, then nothing is getting through that midfield, I would say, because they look incredibly good defensive-wise. So I don't know. What do you think, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, well, we've been saying for years how much we liked Anguissa when he played for us. So you know, I think having somebody that's more of a box-to-box midfielder, I guess, in that sense, is good. Parejo is going to be. We'll see physically how he's doing, because I think it's quite possible that he'll end up getting dropped just because we have, he's getting physical ailments. But I like Comisania, and I like. You're right. That would be kind of a really good midfield pairing, I think.
No, I've seen some matches of him so far in the preseason, and he's not as leggy like I was expected him to be, and more mobile and run a lot. He's not like that. He's more stationary CDM, but he has offensive passing range. So kind of like I would say maybe Kondogbia, if you guys remember him.
Kondogbia.
Kind of like him, but more stationary than Kondogbia. But better passing range, very good passing. But I'm worried about his ability to track back and run. Let's say if the attacking team plays a ball behind him, how is he gonna react? Is he gonna react fast enough to track back? That's my only worry about him. But he looks like a decent midfielder so far. But again, I don't know if he's a CDM or if he's gonna take.
What do you?
Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna take Parejo's position or Santi Comesaña's position. I don't know. That's the only
Yeah,
thing.
but I mean, there was talk. He was described as sort of like that, wasn't he? Sort of described as a bit all over the place. I mean, he sounds a bit like Santi Comesaña, because Santi Comesaña is the same, really. He's like, when you're going backwards, you're not quite sure what he's going to do with it, other than get someone sent off or get himself sent off. But also, I suppose we've got to bear in mind, and I know, Alan, you don't like him very much, but Denis Suarez is back in form, and he's been playing quite a bit pre-season, hasn't he? So.
Yeah.
Again, that's where he's going to fit in as well, because I think he's probably, I know you don't like him, Alan, but he's going to be starting quite close to line, and definitely maybe on that left wing again. I don't know. How do you see Denis Suarez feeding into Guay as a role? Alan, go on for it.
Oh, well, I'm not a big fan of Suarez, but if he's so far he's been playing better than he has in quite a while. So I'm not convinced by him, though. I mean, I have to say I'm not. I never have been, and so yeah, I feel like we could use another midfielder somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where, though, because I'm not sure exactly how we want the people we have now to line up. I just think with Parejo being one of our midfielders and being who he is in terms of his style of play and his age, I would like to see us have another more, I guess, mobile midfielder than on our roster. But you know, Suarez can do that. More power to him.
What do you reckon?
Yes, yeah. No, I saw him. He played the last match, and he played as a left winger, but more like a Mano Trigueros role under Emery, where he was like very narrow, very much closer to midfielder than a left winger. So that's how Marcelino used him.
Yeah, kind of like Connie used to be. He would always
kind of like Connie. Yep.
Yeah, and kind of like, yeah, I mean, that was always where Trigueros in his prime, when he could still move around effectively, was that role too. So that makes sense.
But I'm not as I agree with Alan here. Like I liked him before when he could run and go at players, but now that he's older and he doesn't have the same pace anymore, so he becomes a bit I don't know. I don't know whether he can play mid. I don't think he can play in midfield either. Maybe in 4-3-2-3, but I don't think he can play in central midfielder. He lacks some physicality there from my liking. So I don't know. I don't think he will be. He will be more like a sub. Yeah, that's how I see his role.
It's a strange comparison, and I think people are going to throw things at me for saying this, but he does remind me a bit like when he's holding onto the ball and kind of what we're going to do with him. I could see him kind of as doing what we did with Santi when he came back. You know, it's kind of like was faster in his youth, but now he's slowed down a bit, but he's good at holding onto the ball in those spins and turns. So it's kind of like a mixture of Santi and kind of like a faster version of Parejo when he's playing in that midfield. So, but we've got Pino back as well, and that's just been amazing to see. I love Pino so much. I think he's probably one of our best players. So it's going to be interesting to see if that stops Denis from really getting out of the squad, I guess.
Yeah, they even gave him. I don't know. They gave him the penalty. So I think Danjuma created a penalty. Or, I'm not sure, but either way. It was nice to see that the team wanted Pino to take the penalty, and he scored, obviously. So it was nice, I think, for him to get a goal and start off good in the season. And he looks very motivated for the new season, and I'm interested to see maybe how he will be used. I think maybe on the right side will be more natural for him. Do you guys think too, or?
Yeah, I think so. That was always his best position, wasn't it? I mean, I think and then everyone played him left wing, and it just didn't really work. Whereas Emery really turned into a really. I mean, I don't often praise Emery, but I think he was so brilliant at transferring Pino into that sort of cutting inside. It was kind of like the thingy for Arsenal, whatever his name was, the England player, Saka. So, but yeah, I'm really, out of all the players to come back, I think Pino looks amazing to come back. I mean, we've got Foyth come back as well, but I just think Pino was so good on that wing, and he's so brilliant, and he's still so young as well, isn't he? So
Very young, yeah.
he hasn't made him too
Yeah,
veteran.
I think I'm delighted to see him back as well, and I definitely right wing is definitely his position in my mind. So yeah,
but he can play left too, so it will be.
Yeah. He can, but I don't think he's as effective there. He's never shown that he has been. He's always better on the right. So
he's a cracking defender as well. I mean, if he wasn't a right winger, I definitely put him
right back. Yeah.
Yeah, but then you've got Foyth back, haven't you? And Foyth never really pushes forward, and I don't think Foyth is like Alberto Moreno. He lasts about 6 games and then ends up injured. Definitely needs some more milk, that guy.
No, his knees are. He has been through some injury, big, like a very, knee injuries are his Achilles.
Well, but he is a guy though. I mean, he is somebody who is at his best when it's like he practically hyperventilates if he gets across the halfway line. So he's not great at going forward, and so having Jeremy up in front of him really helps, I think.
Yeah.
Jeremy is an excellent defender. I really like him. I think the thing for him is just coming back after an injury where he was off so long. So it's great to see him looking good. And then you have Baena, who's out on Olympic duty right now, but he's certainly shown himself very well. And then you have Sorloth and Gerrard, and if we can keep all of those players, if we keep all those players and Danjuma performs well, I would say our offense looks pretty good. On the other hand, if we have some injuries or somebody comes in and pays $38 million or whatever the release clause is for Sorloth, then back to the drawing board.
Okay, let's talk about Sorloth. This happened like a few hours ago, where the rumor started about him potentially leaving, and Atletico, they offered Dobrik, and he said no to them. He wants a move to Roma. So Sorloth obviously was the next option, as he scored I think 2 goals less than him, or 3 goals less than him, than Dobrik. And he's now Villarreal has Ruig, if you guys remember, in 2017-16 said that he would never do any business with Atletico after the Rodri deal. And but now, what do you guys think now that they might potentially pay the release clause and Sorloth might leave?
If they pay the release clause, we have no choice. Yeah. But if they're trying to do something like, we'll essentially get to the release clause with a bunch of incentives and things like that, or then we have the ability to say no, and we also have the ability to say no if they want to spread the payments out over several years, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the release clause only works as an actual release if you show up with all the money in tow. Right. So I don't know. I don't want to see Sorloth go there, but I don't. The Roma thing definitely seems to have cooled, and it sounds like West Ham have been interested in him too, but they don't seem to want to make a decision about spending big bucks. I think our position is probably just, you want the guy, you pay the release clause.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just gotta say, I really hate Atletico Madrid. They always do this. Like, it's at the end of the season, and they take one of our star players. I guess the season that Solov had, he was always going to be destined probably to leave unless he really wanted to stay with the club. I generally think that Solov might be a bit of an idiot if he does move, because I think he's got a really good thing going here with him. Like, having Baena just sets him up for every single goal, pitch perfect. So I think it'd be a real shame for him. Like, Atletico Madrid in a horrible way would really suit him. They do like that sort of tall, tough striker that holds onto the ball
Yep.
well.
Yep.
I think he'd certainly start for them, but at the same time, it'd be a real shame to see him go. And I think it'd be sad for him, because I mean, why would you switch Madrid for Valencia? Valencia is beautiful, like this hot, stuffy
Yeah.
city. And,
Well,
as Norwegian, Julian, you're going to, any Norwegian struggles in Madrid, surely, and
but you have to remember though that Atleti is in the Champions League this year, and the way the Champions League is reformatted, they're going to be in it every year.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, so that's going to be. I mean, which means that they can afford to pay him a lot more. You know, and part of me also says, if you think about it, I mean, going back years, we had Forlan who was our last Pichichi winner, and then Atleti came in and bought him, and that worked out well for everybody, I suppose. We made a good profit. He had a good career with them. In some respects, I think, yeah, Sorloth has the last year might have been a little fluky, in as much as he and Baino were kind of the perfect combination that might not be repeated. So I would hate to see him leave. I could understand if he did, because of the league attraction and that kind of thing.
I mean, you're right. It's a cracking amount of business, to be fair. Like, what we're signing for 10 million, we're selling him for 40. You know, like that's.
I mean, how do you? Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about Villarreal is we've always been willing to do that. I mean, it's like we don't say, oh, we will turn down anything because we're building a team around this player. We're kind of used to having to fit parts in every season, and so I think it's fine for us to say we want the release clause, but I think Atleti has the money; they can do it.
What do you reckon, Julian?
No, I'm honestly very conflicted about this. On one hand, I want to keep him because there aren't any other options if we sell him. I don't know if we have to bet on very young striker, and that player might not guarantee us a lot of goals, and especially in the market nowadays, it's very hard to find good strikers. The new strikers now are wingers, so it's very hard to find someone to replace Sørloth. So I'm leaning towards keeping him, and he has also expressed that he wants to stay. He wants stability for his family, and that might help us, but it doesn't help if Atletico pays the release cost. So if they, as you say, Alan, if they come with offer with maybe 30 million plus some incentives for this and that, and I would reject it. And only way for him to leave is if they pay up front. And if they do that, then
yeah, I think that's right, because I think you put your finger on a point that it's like, okay, so it's great on your books to have a 40 million versus 10 for a year later, but you got to reinvest in somebody, and and there just aren't that many, as you say, pure strikers out there, and so you have to ask who we would replace him with. And the other question is, okay, if you don't decide to go for somebody with exactly his profile, then what are your attacking options? Because we've got wingers, we've got players who play on the wing who can cut inside, we've got players who can be good second strikers, but we don't have that target guy.
Yeah,
Well, we can always get Alcázar back. Woo!
Oh,
yes.
wait, who even? Yeah, I think he was the worst player I haven't seen. Worst striker I haven't seen. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you. I completely
Yeah,
agree. The
I
way
never liked his style. Never liked he. Yeah, nothing about him was good. But he somehow scored some goals. But yeah, I never liked his style.
Yeah. Well, and he cost us a bunch of money, unlike some of the other. I was thinking of somebody like Alexander Pato, who wasn't very impressive either, but we made money on him.
Mm.
So I forgive him that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's still funny about the Alcázar thing. What we loaned him, and then we clearly said we don't want him back, and so they just like he bought himself out of his contract, or they just bought him. Like, it was a really dodgy deal. I think that's probably why Roy got arrested. It was just that deal.
that whole thing was one of the weirder. Well, both ends of both signing him and getting rid of him were weird.
It was just like mistranslation or something. It was like, you loan? No, we buy. Loan or buy? You couldn't quite work out what the deal was.
Yeah.
Like a marketplace
Maybe
deal.
we had Ben Brereton Diaz trying to translate. Anyway,
Probably, yeah.
I think
It was like one of those shopping trolleys at the supermarket. You know where you put £1 in. you just put the. Oh, you probably don't have them over there, but we have shopping trolleys where you put £1 in and you get it back.
Yeah.
We just left the £1 in there.
We did. Yeah, wow. But I give him one thing, and that is the penalty. The penalty. I thought he was going to miss that penalty in the final against United. I was thinking, oh, he's going to ruin for us. But he scored. But De Gea almost saved it. That's the only penalty where De Gea almost saved it. The rest was, impossible to save.
Yeah, and when you saw Alcázar, I mean, it was like there was relief through his entire body when it went in, because I think he thought it was going to be saved too. It was definitely the one that De Gea was closest to.
And let's point out, De Gea is not a very good penalty saver. He is the worst penalty saver. So the fact that he even touched the ball, that's
It was like a little dribble, wasn't it? It was like the ball was moving in slow motion. You can see Alcázar's face just go, oh shit, and then you kind of got like De Gea is just like, wow, I was close.
Yeah, I was close.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's right. Wow. Well, it was. Yeah. Anyway, I think so. I think we have to try to hang on to Sorloth, and I think that's. I had forgotten Senator Raj saying that he didn't want to do a deal with Atleti after the Rodri thing, but I think that's probably right, that we're not really interested in doing them any favors anymore. So
we don't need to sell either, really, do we? I mean,
we don't. We have so much money from last year and this year in profit, even figuring we spent some of that on the stadium or whatnot. We have plenty of money. We don't need to spend. We don't need to sell in order to buy anybody. So I think we. I mean, I think we're about 25 million up, 22 million up on the sales this year, and we could get one or two more players for that. We're not going to spend 10, 15 million on another player unless it's somebody that we really want, and I don't think we have. I think Mosquera or the other fellow would be our biggest desire yet, and they're not going to cost that much, I don't think.
It's we don't know how much Mosquera is going to cost.
Well, we don't, but I mean, this is why I think you hold. I think the whole thing is you sort of hold out. I mean, the other fellow who at Salzburg, they were talking about 8 million or 8 million, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
So if they're kind of fiddling around, say, well, we could sign this guy for 8 million, They're probably hoping Wolves will, sell Mosquera for not a whole lot more than that. I don't remember what they bought him for or anything, so I don't know how that works. But I don't see us. It's not like we've got somebody that we would like to spend 30 million euros on.
No.
Yeah, well, the thing about Mosquera is only, I mean, in a way, I'm sure many people are watching him, but I think only Villarreal and Wolves appreciate how good he was. I don't think anyone's like desperate to sign him other than Villarreal and Wolves. So it all depends on if Wolves want to get him. What I would love, I guess, would be like, say we spent like 20 million and we got Mosquera and Guedes in one deal, because I think Guedes is a weird one. I actually thought he played really good. There was signs of him like really solid, and he's been so proven in La Liga. So I think under Marcelino's wing, he would definitely find his rhythm again. But it was so temporary, the loan, that I think it'd be great to see him back. I did like him, and second striker absolutely with him. So what do you two think about Guedes and getting him back?
I think the issue with him is his salary. I think his Wolves pay him a lot of money, and I think for Villarreal it's too expensive to get him, and he's not getting any younger either. So I think they want Danjuma to take his spot, and so that's my thought, and I prefer honestly Danjuma. If under Marcelino, if Marcelino managed to motivate him and be very clear about how he wants to play, I think Danjuma is gonna do great things. What do you think, Alan?
I think we could probably use another player with a profile like Guedes. Even so, even if Danjuma does well, I think we could use somebody like that. I don't know, though, that, I mean, Wolves paid a lot of money for him, and I don't see them making him available at a very good price. Plus the I'm just looking. They paid 32 million to Valencia for him. That was another Mendes special, I guess. 32 million, and that was only August 22. So they're not going to let him go on a permanent deal for less than 20 million, and we're not going to pay that.
Yeah.
The Mosquera, on the other hand, they only have about 5 or 6 million in. It looks like, from what I can see. So,
and his contract ends soon too. So next year. So they have to do something about it.
Better word. Bettis' contract runs to 27. So I don't see it. I wouldn't mind it, but I don't see it.
Fair point.
The accountant.
I wasn't expecting. Robin, you seem to be fan of Guedes. Is he someone you think?
Yeah, I mean, I always liked him at Valencia, and I think he looks definitely like he's down in the dumps from the Premier League move. It hasn't worked out for him at all. I think he's desperate to come back to La Liga or find that form again. I think the interesting thing, the similarity, I guess, with him and Danjuma is they've both missed out on the Euro squads. So I know Danjuma was desperate to get back in the Netherlands, and I think that's left him humbled. And I think Guedes is sort of the same, really. He's gone to Wolves and he's become back a bit more humble. He's missing that spark and stuff. But there were that moments of brilliance last season. I do remember him standing out as a sort of, he did remind me of his olden days, and he's so versatile. That's the one thing about him that I really like. He can play strike, he can play on the left wing. Marcelino knows exactly where to play him and what to do with him.
Right.
So I think that could be quite exciting. So, I mean, in my ideal world, just because I dislike Danjuma and I can't forgive him, I think that I would love to just swap Danjuma for Guedes and see what happens. That would be amazing. Or Danjuma for Guedes and Mosquera with like 5 million or something, and I think that would be a pretty good deal. But we'll see. I don't know. It'd be really. I'd quite like to see him again, but it's if we need him as a player, I guess. So.
we will see. It's still like 2 weeks, or I don't know, maybe 1 month left, right? It ends in end of August.
Yeah. The window is at end of August, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is there say a realistic signing, not anyone ridiculous, but if you could sign anyone that you could think of at the moment, who would you want to sign, like as a player, a realistic one, not like
Realistic.
Cristiano Ronaldo in his prime or something.
What about you? What do you think, Alan? Who would you sign?
I have to think about that.
Yeah. You know me, I like to throw a cliffhanger at the end of a podcast.
Yeah, I've got to think about that. I'm not real sure.
Okay, I mean, I'll go with mine just to kind of give you two or three minutes. So again, we always go for undiscovered talents or players that we can really just sort of grow, players that kind of might not quite have blossomed but have shown like a spark. So I would go with Marcelino Nunes for Norwich in the Premier League. I am slightly biased because he's Chilean, but I actually think he would be a really perfectly good signing for us. He could play midfield, he could play wings, that kind of stuff. So sort of attacking midfielder, I think that'd be great. And I'd like us to kind of reaffirm with Chile again after the Ben Brenton Diaz disaster.
I thought when you mentioned Marcelino, I was like, oh, you want Marcelino to be a playing coach?
Yeah, absolutely, let's get him out. It'd be better than Reina.
Yeah, okay, I see him now. Yeah, he's 24, very young midfielder. Okay, yeah, I see him. What about you? Yeah, me.
Boy,
more time to think.
Yeah.
I don't really have a good answer here.
You say Moy Gomez.
Well, I can always. I was going to say I would love to have Trigueros in his prime, something like that. But you can't do that.
No, he can do that, Alan.
I guess I would really. I'm trying to figure out who the profile would be. I would really like. I mean, I think somebody like Geddes would be fine. I just want somebody that's more affordable than I think he would be. So if you have suggestions, that's the kind of player I would like, because I would like a versatile player, maybe who can play a little more even in midfield than Geddes. But I want somebody who can play a bunch of different places, who can be a good second striker also.
Okay. Wow.
So I don't know who that Phil, but that's who I'd like.
Yeah.
I would go for it. It's very expensive, but first two players. First is Mosquera. I really like his playing style. I like everything about Mosquera. I like his positive energy, and he has also expressed how much he enjoyed the loan spell. So I think we can get him, if not this season, maybe next season. Other than that, I like Julian Alvarez from City.
Yeah,
He can play in multiple positions as you wanted. Kind of like the player you like, Alan. He can play as a striker, second striker, left wing. Yeah, so maybe Julian and Mosquera, if I had to choose.
that's really interesting that we've all gone for sort of three similar players, haven't we? We're kind of already. It's like we're kind of missing Santi Cazorla, because that was it. That was that sort of exciting midfield. I mean, I think Baena could do that role if he wasn't played so far left wing. I think he'd probably be pretty good if he had a bit of a run there, but I can't see that happening.
No. Okay, should we just wrap up? Are there anything else you guys want to talk about or mention? Or...
I'm just like to say sorry to all those Chilean fans that are listening that Ben Brenton Diaz didn't work out. We did try, but yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
And you, Alan, do you have anything you want to say, or is it?
Yeah. Say I haven't really been able to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the friendlies that are more. Once we move into the ones that are more competitive, I guess, rather than being kind of run out various players and when you're still at your training school sessions, whatever. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I guess we do. We didn't mention the fellow and I can't remember his name, but he's the keeper for Las Palmas that I saw There was
Alvaro Vallejes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that might be a good signing for the second keeper for since we need a second keeper. So maybe that, but that's about it. Otherwise, I'm just really interested to see how you'll need a program to identify all the new players, but I'm interested to see how Marcelino makes it work.
Yeah, definitely. I'm the only thing I'm worried about is too many. Too many players coming in. How will it affect the team, the chemistry, and everything? We have signed defenders, we have signed midfielders, and if we will lose Sørloth on top of that, it will be a lot of players coming in, and it might affect our chemistry in a negative way because it will take time before they get used to each other. So that's my only worry, I guess, if we lose all our players.
Well, although the fact that we aren't playing in Europe makes it easier.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
It'd be like the golden years of Marcelino. He just comes in, we get promoted, and then we end up in the Champions League. So,
yeah.
Right.
All right, guys. That was really fun.